Thank you very much, Broadcasting. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm sorry I was running a little bit late. We have some other committees that are kind of going into overtime. I want to welcome everyone to this afternoon's meeting of the Senate Committee on Legislative Operations and Elections. Today, we have 3 bills on our agenda. Senate Joint Resolution 6, a measure that was requested by the Legislative Committee on Senior Citizens, Veterans, and Adults with Special Needs. Senate Bill 176 was requested by the Sunset Subcommittee, and Senate Bill 268, sponsored by Senator Dallas Harris. Madam Secretary, we do have a quorum present. Please mark Vice Chair Lang and Majority Leader present when they arrive. Before we begin any of our agenda items, I want to briefly explain how our virtual meetings work this session. As we know, for the time being, due to the pandemic, our legislative building here in Carson City is closed to the public. As a result, all committee meetings are being held virtually, meaning committee members, staff, and presenters are participating either through the Zoom app or by telephone. As most of you are doing now, you may view committee meetings online through the legislature streaming service or on the legislature's YouTube channel. As in previous sessions, all committee-related information is available on the Analyst system on the LCB website, which is accessible via the Nevada Legislature website. For this session, the public has 3 ways to submit public opinion or testimony. Please note that each way is slightly different. Some become part of the public record, and others are opinions shared for legislators' information. The 3 ways are providing testimony via telephone during committee meetings, submitting written testimony, and using the opinion poll application. Telephone testimony during committee meetings. To testify on bills or provide public comment during this session, members of the public should register on the Analyst system and then call into the phone number provided. To register, you click on the Participate button under each meeting and fill out the requested information. After registering, you call the number provided at registration, and you're placed in line to testify in the order you called in and in the category, whether it's support, opposition, or neutral on a specific bill, or if you'd like to provide public comment. The broadcast and production services team will prompt you when it's your turn to speak. It's a first come, first serve option, and testimony may be limited. Written testimony may be emailed as a PDF document to the following email address, senloe@sen.state.nv.us, or it can be sent via fax to the following fax number, area code 775-684-6500. Written testimony should include the bill number, a clear title, such as testimony in support of Senate Bill XYZ, and your name and if you're with an organization. All these submissions become public exhibits posted on the Analyst system for the public's consideration and legislators' consideration. They become part of the public record. Opinion poll. The legislature's opinion poll application has been used in prior sessions. It's more prominently displayed now and located in more places than before. It's available by clicking the Submit Opinion button near the date of each meeting. Through this feature, the public can provide comments or just indicate their position on a bill. The comments are only available to legislators and do not become part of the public record. For public comment, the committee will set aside time at the end of today's meeting for the public to call in. If anybody misses a meeting and wants to hear the testimony, all committee meetings are recorded and posted on the legislature's website, usually by the next day. I know that was a lot of housekeeping information, so please do not hesitate to contact my office or the Legislative Operations and Elections Committee staff if you have any questions or need help. And some of our presenters have a work session next door in Health and Human Services, so I'm going to defer to broadcasting and see if we have either Senator Harris or Senator Spearman. If not, committee members, we may have to just be at ease until they return. I don't see them on the screen, but just in case I'm missing them, I'm going to reach out to broadcasting. But I think
this is broadcast. I apologize for the interruption. We do not have either of those senators in our party just yet.
Thank you. Committee members, thank you for your patience and indulgence, but we'll be at ease. You can mute your microphone on your screen until one of our presenters is here. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Vice Chair. Just so you are aware, we are currently on hold waiting for both of our presenters to join us.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Good afternoon, Vice Chair. Thank you for being willing to take over the gavel today. I'm kind of in a holding pattern between the two committees. They're not calling my bill now, but if you don't mind, do you mind taking over the gavel now? And as soon as our presenters are here, and I'll be here if you want me to take over for any reason.
Okay, and we're starting with Senator Spearman's bill.
Today to present Senate Bill.
Oh, because I think that Senator Ratty needs Senator Harris over in HHS right now.
Okay, Joint Resolution 6.
Thank you.
Okay. Hello, Senator Spearman.
Hello,
How are you?
I am good. How are you?
I am good.
Thank you all for waiting.
So, Senator Spearman, are you the main presenter on this bill?
SJR 6,
Yes.
and yes, and for 176, that's Mr. Haney. He should be on already as well.
So, are you good if we start with SJR 6?
Yes, I will be thrilled, and Senator Ratty, that's doing healthcare right now, will be ecstatic.
Okay, good deal. So, members of the committee, I will have Senator Spearman introduce SJR 6. Please, Senator Spearman, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Vice Chair and Chair Orenshaw and committee members. I'm Pat Spearman, representing Senate District 1. The measure before you today, Senate Joint Resolution 6, calls on the federal government to address the issue of military spouses' loss of retirement benefits due to frequent relocations. The resolution is simple and yet incredibly important. The men and women of the United States Armed Forces and their families give selflessly of themselves in the service to this nation. It is therefore incumbent upon the federal government to do all that it can to support these individuals. This past summer, the Legislative Committee on Senior Citizens, Veterans, and Adults with Special Needs heard testimony from 2 military spouses serving in Nevada. These spouses are professionals in their own industry and shared their story, experiences, and the employment challenges of the spouses of those who serve. According to the Department of Defense, there are more than 630,000 military spouses in the U.S. and 5,415 located here in Nevada. Compared to civilians, military spouses who are 93% female and 10% more likely than other workers to have moved to a new state in the last year due to military relocation. As a result of these frequent moves associated with military life, military spouses earn significantly less when they work than their civilian counterparts. However, they are more formally educated than their civilian colleagues, so the barrier is the ability to get a job and leverage the expertise that they have developed through training and education. According to a survey by Blue Star families, and those are families who have a family member currently serving overseas, according to a survey by Blue Star families, 35% of military spouses work in licensed occupation. 30% are unemployed, and 56% are underemployed. And Madam Vice Chair and Mr. Chair, I'd like to also add to that there are at least 28% of the active military persons who say that them re-enlisting or staying in the military, a lot of that depends upon whether or not their spouse has a job, can find a job, or can work in their profession. And so the Department of Defense really considers the ability to find military spouses jobs within their profession, considers it a readiness issue. Unfortunately, our military spouses face two choices: face family separation if they choose to remain in their current employment, or keep the family intact by moving, but possibly incur job loss. The issues of military spouse unemployment and underemployment affects household incomes, long-term and financial stability, and personal fulfillment and wellness. While 2/3 of American families have two incomes, less than half of the military couples do. However, depending upon the service member's rank, many military families require dual income. Currently, a private first class, and that's an E3, in the military with less than 2 years of service makes $2,104 a month, while the average rent in North Las Vegas is $1,212 a month, and that doesn't include utilities or food. The employment situation of military spouses has been a priority for the U.S. Department of Defense for several years. The department understands that spouses' employment situation severely impacts military readiness, since many service members leave the military because of their spouse's inability to work. As someone who has served, I believe families are the ones that really make the greatest sacrifice. They sacrifice their time and they sacrifice their professions by moving around from place to place. They sacrifice careers, and most importantly, they are willing to sacrifice their loved ones in the service of our country. When we deploy overseas, our minds are consumed with completing the mission at hand. But for those who stay behind, their minds are consumed with the unknown. What if? I wonder why. For these reasons and others, SJR 6 urges the federal government to create and implement a retirement plan that addresses the loss of retirement benefits for spouses of military service members due to frequent relocations that is funded by the Department of Defense Appropriations Act. And you may also know that as the DOD-AA. Madam Vice Chair and Chair, committee members, this is an important bill that can positively impact the lives of our military families. Thank you for consideration and your support of SJR 6. And let me just say this, this would be a novel idea if it weren't so sad. You will see in this session, you will see many of the Title 54 boards who will be agreeing to compacts, and that is making sure that Nevada is linked in with other states that have the same criteria for them to work in their professional occupations. That is so that when the spouse comes into Nevada, they can immediately start work, or when they leave Nevada and they go someplace else that's a compact state, they can immediately start work. This is a serious issue, and we cannot address this state by state. Nevada can't set up a retirement system for military spouses because whatever the profession is, it would mean that some of those who are currently living here, civilians who are living here and have paid into their retirement, would probably have to give up something. So the best way to do this is through the Department of Defense Appropriations Act. I hope that you'll support this, and it is my prayer that those at the federal level will understand, acknowledge, and appreciate the sacrifices of our military spouses and say, yes, develop and pass a bill that creates a retirement system for military spouses. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Spearman, for bringing this important resolution to us. Members of the committee, does anyone have any questions of Senator Spearman? Senator Sievers-Gassert.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. And so thank you, Senator Spearman, for bringing this forth. And you're right, there's just significant challenges to be able to be employed when you have to move, frequently. So I wanted to know if any other states have done the same thing, sent a resolution, or if there's been any discussion at the federal level to do something like this.
To my knowledge, I don't think anyone has, but I have certainly been busy with the people that I know through NCSL, the National Conference of Black State Legislators, CSG West. Anyone that I know that's in another state, I have suggested that they bring the same type of legislation, especially all those who have military bases. We can do no less. And here's the thing, Senator Sievers-Gassert. At the end of 20 years, the military member gets, along with other people who are retiring, usually get a 21-gun salute. They get a coin, they get a certificate of retirement like I have on my wall, and they say, they get a thank you for all that you've done. The spouse, on the other hand, who has had a professional career, let's say the spouse was a social worker. That spouse over 20 years may have only worked in their profession a total of 3 or 4 years because of moving. And every time they move, if it's not a compact state, they have to start from the bottom in terms of whatever the requirements are to get a life. So the military member has a retirement plan, but the civilian, the military spouse, gets nothing. And it's time to change that.
Thank you. I appreciate you bringing this forward and the work that you've done on compacts too, reciprocity and compacts. So I appreciate that. And maybe we'll be the first state and we can lead the others. So thank you.
Thank you.
Any other committee members have questions? Seeing none, we'll go.
Madam Chair, this is broadcasting. Looks like you have muted yourself by mistake.
Well, there you go. Okay, so seeing no more questions, could we go to the phone lines for those in support, please?
To testify in support of Senate Joint Resolution 6, please press *9 now to get your place in the queue. I repeat, to testify in support of Senate Joint Resolution number 6, please press *9 now to get your place in the queue. Madam Vice Chair, at this time, there are no callers in support.
Okay, may we go to oppose? Thank you.
If you wish to provide testimony in opposition of Senate Joint Resolution number 6, please press *9 now to get your place in the queue. I repeat, to give testimony in opposition to SJR 6, please press *9 now to get your place in the queue. Madam Vice Chair, there is no testimony in opposition at this time.
Great. Can we go to neutral?
If you wish to provide testimony in the neutral position on Senate Joint Resolution number 6, please press *9 now to get your place in the queue. Madam Vice Chair, there is no testimony in the neutral position.
Great, thank you. Senator Spearman, we just want to thank you for all the work you continue to do for veterans and military families. And seeing no other people on the line to speak about this bill, we'll consider the hearing closed on SJR 6. Thank you so much, Senator Spearman.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, we will open the hearing on Senate Bill 176.
I'm back.
I was going to start talking just a second. Our next bill is Senate Bill 176, which was requested by the Sunset Committee. Senator Spearman also chaired that committee and will be presenting the bill. Please proceed. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Vice Chair Lang and Chair Orenshaw and committee members. I want to thank you for the opportunity to present Senate Bill 176. For the record, I'm Pat Spearman. I represent Senate District 1 in Clark County. Senate Bill 176 was requested by the Sunset Committee of the Legislative Commission, and it was my pleasure to serve as the chair of that subcommittee during the 2019-2020 interim. The bill proposes to authorize the Commission to study governmental purchasing. The Commission requested for each regular session of the legislature the drafting of not more than 2 legislative measures that relate to matters within the scope of the Commission. By way of background, on January 10th, 2020, at the first meeting of the subcommittee, this interim, the subcommittee chose 15 entities to be reviewed during the interim. And one of those was the Commission. The Commission was selected for review because it had never been reviewed by the subcommittee. And I think that some members of the subcommittee were particularly interested in what the Commission does after approving Assembly Bill 86 during the 2019 session. But Assembly Bill 86 was a comprehensive bill related to governmental purchasing that processed by the Committees of Government Affairs in each House. Among the provisions, AB 86 was provision to authorize the Commission to request 2 bill drafts each session. However, that provision was amended out in the Assembly before final passage. The Sunset Subcommittee reviewed the Commission on May 4th, 2020. During that review, we learned more about the objective of the Commission to review the laws that relate to and impact local government purchasing in the state, including Chapters 332 and 338 of the NRS. Proposed changes review all of the changes that have been made in each legislative session and work with each respective entity's representative during the legislative session. It seemed to the majority of the members of the subcommittee that the work of the Commission would culminate in the submission of legislative measures. On August 31st, 2020, the subcommittee voted 5-1, with former Assemblyman Skip Daly the sole vote in opposition, to recommend to the Legislative Commission a bill draft request to authorize the Commission to submit 2 requests for the legislative measures each regular session. Senate Bill 176 has no fiscal impact. And I just want to say one of the things that I asked, not just the Commission on Purchasing, but I asked everyone this question, to look at what their diversity was, not just among staff, but to look at the diversity of suppliers and to make sure it wasn't just only people that they knew and never reaching out to small businessmen and women, including veterans, the BIPOC community, and bringing them on board and allowing them an opportunity to do work with the government. So thank you with that. And I believe that Mr. Jim Haney is standing by.
Yes, I am.
Okay, thank you. And Ms. Vice Chair and Mr. Chair, if it's okay with you, I'm going to head back to Health and Human Services.
That would be fine, Senator Spearman. And will Mr. Haney respond to any questions that there might be?
Yes, ma'am.
Great,
Yes.
thank you. Mm-hmm. So welcome, Mr. Haney. Are there any questions from members of the committee? Well, Mr. Haney, you lucked out. Seeing none, we will go to the phones. VPS, could we have people speaking in support? If you are here to speak in support of the bill, you'll have 2 minutes each, and we'll go to support.
To testify in support of Senate Bill 176, please press *9 now to get your place in the queue. Madam Vice Chair, this time there is no testimony in support for Senate Bill 176.
Can we go to opposition, please?
To testify in opposition of Senate Bill 176, please press star 9 now to get your place in the queue. Caller with the last 3 digits, 116. Please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You will have 2 minutes and may begin.
Thank you, Vice Chair and members of the committee. My name is Alexis Motorex, Alexis Motarex, with the Nevada Chapter Associated General Contractors representing the commercial construction industry in northern Nevada. We are here in opposition to SB 176. Many of AGC's members engage in public purchasing, and thus we have tried to engage with this committee on their behalf over the years. There's a lack of transparency that is concerning. There is no website, meeting notices are nearly impossible to find, there does not seem to be a list of commission members, and in my recent search of the internet, there are no minutes available. I was able to find a meeting agenda on Clark County's website from last November and one on Sparks' website from September of 2019. Those agendas indicate that notice is posted on notice.gov, which might meet a minimum standard, but it is just that, the minimum, and leaves the public largely out of the process. It is our belief that this commission has not matured to the point that they have proven they can self-direct and request their own BDRs, especially given that according to statute, every member on the commission has access to BDRs through their city, county, the League of Cities, and NACO. Why should this committee be able to circumvent the public process that their governing bodies have to comply with when prioritizing their BDRs? Until there is more transparency, AGC respectfully requests that you do not process SB 176. Thank you.
Thank you. Next caller, please.
Madam Vice Chair, there are no more callers in opposition at this time.
Okay, callers in neutral.
To testify in the neutral position on Senate Bill 176, please press star 9 now to get your place in the queue. Madam Vice Chair, at this time, there are no callers in the neutral position.
Thank you. Are there any questions then from the committee? Severs-Gansert.
Thank you, Vice Chair Lang. So, you know, I don't know who makes up the commission, and maybe it was stated, but I don't know who's on there because it was just stated that the members already have access to BDRs because they are, sounds like maybe elected officials or within government. So I don't know if the person who testified with Alexis who in opposition can let us know, or if we have someone here. Oh,
thank you. I think Mr. Haney can answer that question.
Yes, I can. Madam Vice Chair and committee members, the Nevada Public Purchase...
Sir, would you please state your name for the record?
Sorry.
Thank you.
Jim Haining, Jimhaining. I am the purchasing manager for the Las Vegas Valley Water District and a member of the Nevada Public Purchasing Study Commission. We probably, Senator Spearman definitely did a nice overview of what we are looking for, but if I could do a short presentation to quickly answer that question. I'm going to share my screen real quick so you see the presentation. So the Public Purchasing Study Commission was set up by the legislature and is dictated by statute in NRS 332.215. And the membership consists of all the purchasing agents in local governments within the counties with a population of 10,000 or more. So other counties may also participate. So all the purchasing agents for public entities within Clark County and Washoe County definitely participate, and some of the other counties also participate. And we were set up by the legislature to review the laws that impact local purchasing in the state of Nevada and to review proposed changes during each legislative session and to work with our respective entities' representation during the session. So we have meetings at least quarterly. We do post those. We invite everybody who's interested, and we have a list that is emailed out to all of those. We do not have a website because we are not an entity that is composed, we're not a corporation. We don't belong to one of the entities at all because our membership is every entity within Clark County and Washoe County. And we were set up so we could make recommendations to any changes to that law to the legislature. And to date, we have not been able to find a sponsor. We had been trying since 2008 to propose changes to NRS 332. And until the state purchasing decided to help us and piggyback some of our requested changes in 2019, nothing had been done. And we had some wholesale changes to make the statute, for NRS 332 in particular, better for everyone and to modernize it. And we were finally able to do that in 2019. So we can only be effective in proposing changes if we're able to find another entity or a legislator who will submit a BDR on our behalf currently. And we have found it definitely problematic because most entities have 4 or 5 BDRs, and there's other things much more important than changing 332 for the Nevada Public Purchasing Study Commission. And in the past, I even found some legislators that were almost ready to help us, and then they had other more important things to go to. So until 2019, when state purchasing helped us, we were unable to submit anything. So without this proposed statutory change, we are unable to do what we need to do. And I disagree with what Alexis said from the Association of General Contractors, that we're not mature enough. We're very mature. Each of the entities is represented by very knowledgeable individuals that manage their purchasing departments. And if we're unable to submit BDRs, we might as well just dissolve this commission because we have no effectiveness if we are unable to submit proposed changes to the legislature each year or each session. So, and by giving us the ability to have 2 BDRs, it helps keep the politics out of our side of the process. We're purchasing agents. We direct the spend within each of our agencies, make sure that we meet the laws according to NRS 332 and 338, and that our processes are correct. And we're not politicians, and that's one of the things that just makes this difficult. So,
thank you, Mr. Heaney. Senator Gaster.
Thank you, Vice Chair Lang, for letting me ask you another question. So, the transparency issue, and if you don't have a website, so how do you post your minutes? How do you let people know what you're doing if you actually don't have a location to post? Because it sounds like you're in all these different communities, right? And so there's no centralized space where you post. So, I mean, is that accurate? And do you have plans to do something about that, or how can you be more transparent?
We do not have a website. Our minutes are available when people ask. The minutes and the agendas are posted when we send out the email blasts, and before and after the meeting. We review them, we discuss them. They're open to the public. We have public comment at each of our meetings. But since we don't belong to any single agency, we have zero funding and no access to build or maintain websites. We have no staff. We're just employees of each of the various entities that are required by statute to be a member of the commission.
Thank you. Any follow-up?
No, I don't have any follow-up. I just feel like that testimony was pretty strong. And because you aren't centralized, I can understand the challenges that you have, but I think it's important that you have transparency. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other committee members? Seeing none, BPS, can we go to the phone lines for those people in support? 2 minutes each, please.
If you wish to provide testimony and support, please press star 9 now to get your place in the queue. Madam Vice Chair, there is no testimony in support at this time.
You know what? I think I went over myself a second time. We've already gone through the support, opposed, and neutral. So if there are no more committee questions, anybody else? Then we'll close the hearing on SB 176. Sorry about that, everyone. And I just want to give the committee a warning that we have to be on the floor at 5 o'clock. So we're going to open the next bill hearing. If we can't get through it, we will take a recess and then come back after the floor. So I will now open the hearing on Senate Bill 268, which is sponsored by Senator Harris. And she is with us today. Senator Harris, please proceed.
Thank you so much, Vice Chair Lang, and I accept that challenge to try and get through this before 5. So good afternoon, Vice Chair Lang, committee members. I'm Dallas Harris, representing Senate District 11 in Clark County. Thank you for providing me the opportunity to present Senate Bill 268, a bill relating to state financial administration, which will allow us to test the strength of the state budget against a series of economic conditions. Before going over the specifics of SB 268, I'd like to explain briefly why I believe it's important for us to pass this bill. Following the 2008 financial crisis and during the ensuing Great Recession, the United States Congress imposed regulations addressing the viability of the nation's financial industry. This included what is known as a stress test on the banking industry. Private financial firms such as Moody's Analytics have since been conducting budget stress tests in various states. Starting in 2015, the state of Utah began financial stress testing for its own state budgets, and by 2017 included this practice in state law. The state of Minnesota was also an early adopter of budget stress testing, and in 2019, Montana and Nebraska passed laws requiring their fiscal analyst offices to stress test the annual budget. Several other states and numerous local jurisdictions across the country have also conducted budget stress testing for various components of their budgets. So what is the purpose of a budget stress test? According to the Pew Charitable Trust, budget stress tests help states estimate the potential financial shortfalls that could result from adverse events, a dramatic economic downturn, for example, or an outbreak of illness, such as the one caused by the novel coronavirus. Policymakers can use this data to plan ahead, helping to avert or limit a fiscal emergency and keep long-term priorities on track. Essentially, fiscal experts apply various financial scenarios against existing and predicted revenues and expenditures that could replicate, for example, a recession or other events that could impact state finances. This practice can inform our actions as legislators and help us set targets for how much money our state may have to cover unanticipated revenue shortfalls or predict more favorable outcomes. A budget stress test can help us evaluate various tax and spending decisions, set reserve goals, consider our dependence on particularly volatile revenue streams, and ensure our critical state programs are fully funded. With this background, you can see how important SB 268 can be for the state of Nevada. This bill is very simple and straightforward. In short, the measure requires the Legislative Council Bureau's Fiscal Analysis Division, to the extent resources are available, to perform a budget stress test in each even-numbered year, comparing the estimated future revenue to and the estimated future expenditure from the major funds in the state treasury under various potential economic conditions. A report regarding the results of the test must be posted on the legislature's website and submitted to the governor and the legislature. The bill language is intentionally broad so our fiscal staff can conduct this test using various methodologies and scenarios. From this budget stress test, legislators should be more informed when making critical policy and funding decisions that impact our many state programs. Thank you, Vice Chair Lang and the committee for hearing SB 268. Also present today is Wayne Thorley, Senate Fiscal Analyst. As LCB staff, he's unable to advocate for or against the passage of legislation, but he's here to answer any questions you may have concerning the budget stress test procedures. And of course, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have as well.
Thank you, Senator Harris. Are there any questions from the committee? Senator Gasser.
Thank you, Vice Chair Lang. This is my question day. So thank you, Senator Harris, for bringing forth this legislation. I mean, on face value, I mean, to me, it makes sense. And you sort of went over the ideas or the parameters of what a stress test could be, but as you mentioned, the language is really broad. So I thought maybe we could get some ideas maybe from Wayne Thorley on what it would look like for our state. Is that okay?
Yes. Yes, for me.
Good afternoon, everyone. And it's good to be back in this committee, although in a different role. For the record, Wayne Thorley, I'm the Senate Fiscal Analyst, and thank you, Senator Harris, for the introduction. And I'll read my little disclaimer here. I'm employed by the Legislative Council Bureau as a Senate Fiscal Analyst. As you know, LCB is a nonpartisan agency. We do not support or oppose any particular piece of legislation, policy, or viewpoint. Rather, we provide the legislature with its members with objective advice and analysis on fiscal issues, including explanations regarding proposed legislation. So the purpose of the stress test is to look at how the state's budget and revenues would respond under various economic scenarios. So different scenarios that you could imagine would be a moderate recession or a more severe recession, like something we saw a decade ago in the Great Recession. And then outside those scenarios, there's numerous other scenarios that could be considered, such as a period of stagflation, which is a period with high inflation and high unemployment and a sluggish economy. And there's really an infinite number of scenarios that could be considered, but those are some of the ones, the main ones that could be considered. As the senator mentioned, the language in this legislation is fairly broad, and that would allow our law office to, as we're developing the procedures to run the stress test, to figure out exactly the best way to approach this, especially given the resources that we have and the time constraints that we're under, to figure out, what analysis we can do and how we can do it. So I don't really have a good answer for you on methodology that would be performed at this moment, because that's something that we're going to have to get under the hood if this legislation is passed.
Thank you for that response. And I didn't know if Senator Harris, if there's any other states that you could, I mean, you just named a list of states that are doing this now. And so maybe we need to look that up so we can kind of see how they approached it and what their outcomes were and how the information was used.
And Vice Chair Lang, if I may, I'll quickly say, I know Wayne Thorley has been in contact with his co-parts in Utah who have been doing this for a while, and they have committed to kind of walking our staff through this process as we develop it.
Thank you.
Okay, any more questions? Okay. So we're getting close to the time. So BPS, could you tell me how many people are in the queue today?
Madam Chair, there are no people in the queue at this time.
Okay, so I think we'll go through the process for the record of asking, are there any people in support? They have 2 minutes to speak.
If you would like to provide testimony in support of Senate Bill 268, please press star 9 now to get your place in the queue. Madam Chair, the public testimony line is open and working. However, it is empty at this time.
Thank you. Anybody in opposition?
If you would like to provide testimony in opposition of Senate Bill 268, please press star 9 now to get your place in the queue. Madam Vice Chair, at this time, the public testimony line is open and working. However, there are no callers.
Thank you, and neutral.
If you wish to provide testimony in the neutral position on Senate Bill 268, please press star 9 now to get your place in the queue. Madam Vice Chair, at this time, the public testimony line is open and working. However, there are no callers.
Thank you. And any questions from members? Seeing no further questions, thank you, Senator Harris and Mr. Thorley, and I will close the hearing on Senate Bill 268. And thinking about how much time we have. So do we have anybody in the queue for public comment?
Madam Chair, the public comment line is open and working. However, the public comment lobby is empty at this time.
Okay. So hearing that there's no one on the line for public comment, we will meet next Tuesday, March 30th. Please be on the lookout for the agenda. If there's no further business before the committee, we are adjourned. And I think we'll be heading to the floor right away. Thanks so much.